Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. There's a new name on the scene at 154. If you're from New York City, you know who it is. It's Pawel Wolak, and he's taking on Delvin Rodriguez this Friday. Let's talk about it. But before I go further, just remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Even though Pawel Wolak is 5'8", he's a big force at 154 pounds, and I'm expecting him to beat 6-foot Delvin Rodriguez. There are a few facts you need to know up front about this fight before I get into styles. The first is that Rodriguez has never fought at 154 pounds. He's actually a welter moving up in weight. The second fact is that Rodriguez hasn't fought for the last year. And so you're talking about a guy who's very rusty against a very active Pawel Wolak. Also, Rodriguez, who is a long jabber, has been knocked out before, has succumbed to pressure before. There is a fight on YouTube. It's Rodriguez against Jesse Feliciano. I would encourage you to take a look at that fight. Now, Pawel Wolak can be beaten. In fact, he has been beaten. And in my opinion, there is a hole in his game. And it's the same hole that's in the game of Urbano Antillion, who just lost to Brandon Rios. Pawel Wolak can be hit with uppercuts. You have to be able to throw the uppercut on a target coming toward you, right? This is different than being able to see a guy out yonder, then throwing a long uppercut like Roy Jones used to do, like Carl Froch does now. This is the kind of uppercut that people like Lucien Boutte can throw. It's a skill to inside fighting, and if you look at the Pawel Wolak versus Ishii Smith film, you're going to see that's Wolak's one loss. You're going to see Pawel Wolak repeatedly get hit with that short uppercut. He's hyper aggressive. He's a fighter that stalks you relentlessly from start to finish. He has an inside game and he tries to push it. And what happens is when he comes in with Ishii Smith is able to use his shoulder to get space, literally just a little quick bump. Then he's able to repeatedly hit Pawel Wolak with uppercuts. And because Wolak is a pattern fighter, in other words, because Wolak fights the same fight every fight, because Wolak has a winning formula, and that's the only formula he uses, because Wolak's not the kind of guy to make mid-fight adjustments. That uppercut, if you land it in the first round, you can land it in the 10th round. That's what Ishii Smith did in that fight. Let me point out, too, if you look at the fight, I'm not sure if Wolak lost that fight. I believe Wolak still had the better of Ishii Smith. But let me just say that, unfortunately for Wolak, the judges saw it differently. That's the problem you have when you don't make adjustments. The judges see a uppercut hitting you with regularity. They see you not making any adjustments. Sooner or later, they might be biased against you in the later rounds. So I like Wolak to win this fight. It is only a 10-rounder, so a KO is risky. But in my opinion, Wolak should come awfully close to getting the knockout. Let me just say, too, if you're betting big money, the straddle I would do, and apparently you can get some huge odds on this, something like 10-1. The straddle I would do would be to take Rodriguez by KO. In other words, the very cheap insurance. The bet I'd make, the main bet is Wolak to win, straddled against Rodriguez by KO. Let's talk about the styles, right? Rodriguez, as I've said earlier, long jabber, tall, lanky, tries to use length, tries to come over the top with a right hand. Wolak is the opposite. Wolak tries to use his height for his advantage. Just picture young Mike Tyson, that's the model, trying to just walk you down even more frenetically than Mike Tyson did. People forget, if you look, by the way, at that Tyson Spinks fight, you're going to see Tyson actually was very patient in that fight. Pawel Wolak is never patient. He's always coming forward. He's impossible to duplicate in sparring because he does so many things wrong. For example, most boxers come in, give you a side profile, they turn to the side. Pawel Wolak keeps his legs straight. In other words, he literally is standing right in front of you. He's just running up to you, standing right in front of you. He uses his lack of height to his advantage. He tries to get under your arms. He tries to get in your face. Then he tries to hit you with hooks. He's not blessed with heavy hands, but what he is blessed with is heavy pressure, right? And he's constantly leaning forward, hence he's able to get hit with uppercuts. Understand, though, he's not open for anything else. So you're going to have to land that uppercut. Also, we talk about foot speed. He has it. But understand, when we're talking about foot speed, we're talking about more than moving feet, right? All of us can move from here to there pretty fast. The question is whether all of us can move from here to there and actually be throwing punches, actually be ready to throw punches, be ready to defend ourselves from punches. That's Pawel Wolak's comparative advantage, right? You see it in the Yuri Foreman fight. While Yuri Foreman is moving around the ring, Pawel Wolak is not only keeping up with him, Pawel Wolak is actually hitting him with punches, right? This is a situation where the nickname fits. If you've looked at old films of the Raging Bull, Jake LaMotta, when you look at Pawel Wolak, you're going to see a very similar fighter, right? We're talking about heavy pressure. We're talking about heavy volume, but not one punch knockout power. I just don't see how a rusty welterweight who hasn't fought for a year is going to be able to cope with the heavier light middle who's going to be in his face, breaking him down from start to finish. And because Wolak is so relentless, and because of the defensive shell that he has, he'll be able to get by Delvin Rodriguez's jab. In other words, he's going to come in, Rodriguez is going to have a shot to, try to keep him at the end of a jab. That's impossible when you're dealing with a guy who's shorter than you, who knows how to use height to his advantage. Wolak is going to roll away from the jab. He's going to get inside. Then I think he destroys Delvin Rodriguez. Wolak is in line for a title shot. According to media reports, he's rumored to be on the undercard of the Cotto Margarito fight, or at least that's in discussion. So he's about to break nationally. You need to know him here. You need to look at the styles, so when he does get the shot on the winner of Margarito Cotto, you're prepared. You know what to do. Let me know what you think. I like the straddle. Pawel Wolak to win the fight, straddled against Delvin Rodriguez by KO. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me here on YouTube and visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Thanks for watching.